Alright, quick update for Strong. So I think I made my last update for Strong on the 15th, as I didn't upload yesterday on the 16th. So it's been like 2 days. 2 days ago, I highlighted how, our resistance would be here at 181, and that would where I'd have my next eyes on for a dead cat bounce before a rejection. So far we've come up to 173 and come down a tiny bit. So something like this, where we've got an inverse head and shoulders, another breakdown to fill these targets down here at 77 to 70, targets that we've been talking about for weeks on weeks on weeks now. When we were all the way back here, we had our eyes on these targets, and we were at 270, and some of the Strong community was trying to throw rocks through my window because I was saying it might come down to these regions around here, and we came all the way down to 107 from 274 when we started making videos on. So really, this is where I'm keeping my next eyes on. I've got my eyes on 180. If we are able to have a strong break above 180, so be it. This may have been the bottom down in this vicinity. We may just have to scratch coming down to 80, 70, these kind of regions down here. I mean, coming down to 106 is close enough to this target for me, but like I said, personally I am sticking with this scenario as what I think is my most likely scenario. I still do think it is very likely we could have another crash down to between 78 and 70. Now, if we come over to Bitcoin to kind of back up what we're talking about, Bitcoin has had so far another rejection from this big red line here. If we do flatten the data, you can see Bitcoin has had massive rallies up into this red line before. Everyone got extremely bullish, thought the bull market was continuing, and whenever we did kind of crash into this, took a day or two, and on the third day, let's see over here, so yeah, a day or two, and then on the third day we started falling off the cliff. So I'd be keeping my eyes on what's going to happen tomorrow. I think it's very 50-50. I mean, we've been beaten up for so long that eventually I think that we are going to bottom. I do think we are going to bottom in the next couple of months. So worst case scenario, if we do get rejected here, I do think we'll come somewhere around this vicinity, and that will be the bottom in the end of April, the end of March kind of time, probably more leaning towards the end of April. But all in all, in the next day or so, if Bitcoin manages to break above 41.5, I think we would be having a massive push up. And a lot of these altcoins like Strong that literally have 22 million in market cap. I mean, this is dirt cheap. This is why I say, when this drops, it drops like a rock. But when it bounces, don't count this this out for a trade. If you watch my videos, I'm personally not a fan of this in the long term, but because the market cap is so dirt cheap, it will be one of the first altcoins that I start buying once Bitcoin does break out of this level for a short-term trade. I'd probably mainly be looking at accumulating a little bit of Jasmy as we have broken out of this level, and I would be looking to accumulate a tiny bit of Strong. But me accumulating all depends on whether Bitcoin is able to break above the 41.5. If we do break above 41.5 in the short term, I would be very, very happy to buy a bit of Strong if the price does cheer up a bit. Obviously, if Bitcoin breaks 41.5 and Strong just starts coming down to 70 or 77, which I think is very possible, then I personally wouldn't be touching it. But what I'd be looking for is something like this, a bottoming signal. I still do think in the short term we are going to be coming down, fulfilling something like this, something like an inverse head and shoulders. This could potentially be the bottom that we are looking for on Strong, and a lot of altcoins could go on massive rallies if Bitcoin is able to hop over 41.5. But that is all hypothetical. If Bitcoin starts dumping from here, we start losing 40,000, start losing 39.5 by tomorrow or the next coming days, I would be extremely worried. So all in all, I'm still sitting on the sidelines for Strong. In the short term, I do think we are going to come down to 77 to $70. We don't necessarily have to do that. If we do, for example, if Bitcoin breaks above 41.5, I imagine a lot of these coins and tokens would just reverse out of an imaginary spot in thin air that doesn't have any kind of previous historic you know, significance to it at all. I think a lot of them would just start rallying, especially Strong. Like I said, this has got 22 million market cap, and while I'm not a fan of this in the long term, you know, if you watch my channel, I'm not a fan of long term buying nodes, and I'm not a fan of Strong in the long term, but in the short term, as this has a dirt cheap market cap, I have no doubt in my mind that it could potentially do something like a 2x rally once we did break 180. But like I said, I mean, all my videos are really the same for these altcoins. I try and tell you in my personal trading plan, I'm not trying to catch a knife for these. I'm not just going to buy it because it crashes to 70 or 77, because people were telling me to buy the dip down here at 200. People were telling me to buy the dip when I first started making videos up here at, you know, 270, 270, whatever. And I'm still sitting on the sidelines now at 160. I'm looking for a bottoming signal like this to play out. It doesn't necessarily have to be an inverse head and shoulders. It could be something like this, and then a nice W pattern out of the top of this. Anything like that, literally anything that remotely resembles a bottoming formation, and then a break above this breakdown level at 180. That would what I'd be looking for a short-term long. I would be longing this on spot, just buying a small amount, accumulating, and then obviously if we do have a big move like this to 2x, I would be, you know, buying my Bitcoin back, because like I say, I'm not planning to hold Strong in the long term. It's a short-term thing for me, but that is all I see for Strong in the short term. So I don't want to take up any more of your time. Keep an eye on a situation like this playing out. Like I said, if we do come down to 77 to 70, I do think, you know, somewhere around that vicinity, it would be very likely to be the bottom. So that is all I see for Strong. If you are holding Strong, best of luck. Once again, none of this is financial bias. It's just my opinion on the market, and you've always got to do what's best for you. Peace.